How's it going, everyone? Joe C. the Barber here. Welcome to On the Mic with Joe C. I just finished recording my second episode to my podcast with Dominic Torres, the owner of Highpoint Brewing Company. And one of the things that I wanted to communicate with you guys before watching this video was that towards the end of the recording of this episode, Dominic and I realized that the mute button on this mic was hit. Not only was it hit at the beginning of the episode. I just want to make sure that the sound quality of the episode you're about to listen to does not take away from all of the gold that was in that conversation. And I want to make sure that I'm responsible for putting that out there to you guys so that you guys can put the audio quality aside. I'm hoping it's not as bad, but we are going to be using the audio from the cameras that we were using to film. It won't be the audio that you heard on episode 1. And it's not the audio that you will hear moving forward from here on out, because you best believe that I'm going to be looking at that mute button the entire time we're recording and make sure that we are not muted again. But honestly, guys, I'm still super excited to post this, not only because it was such a great conversation, but because this that happened, this little speed bump, is exactly the conversation that I want to have more of. That when you have beginnings for anything, or not even just the beginning, middle, and end, there's always speed bumps. And as long as you don't create them to be a wall, and you just create them to be a speed bump and you keep going, things will always turn out. This was a little bit of a speed bump at the beginning of this journey of the podcast. I'm actually excited that it happened, because this is reality, guys. This is what it looks like when you start something new, when you experiment with stuff. Things like this are going to happen. And so now that that's said, I really hope you enjoy this next episode. I had such an amazing time filming it. I look forward to whatever feedback you guys might have on it. And hopefully you guys are able to get as much value out of it as I did. And with that said, guys, stay blessed, smile every chance you get. Love y'all. Enjoy the episode. How's it going, everyone? Welcome to On the Mic with Joe C. I'm super excited to introduce my next guest, which is a veteran of the Marine Corps of the United States. He is the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce of the city of San Dimas. He is also one of the owners of Highpoint Brewing Company, which is the first brewery, correct?
Yeah.
To open up in the city of San Dimas. I would love to introduce my friend, Dominic Torres. I think I'm going to put that sound effect.
Yeah, something yeah.
Or the wave, right? Like the crowd doing the wave. Dominic, thank you so much for accepting my invitation to be on this podcast. It is the second episode, and so I'm super excited to have this continue. This has been a 3-year-long conversation for me. There was one time about a year and some change ago that I did make the attempt of recording a podcast, didn't get past the first episode. And so now I'm in the second episode of this podcast. It's super special for me.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Now you're breaking the barrier.
Yeah,
now you do it.
Now I know I can go far beyond that. I've actually known Dominic for 6 years now.
Yeah,
it's been about 6
years. Yeah.
6 years. Dominic and Highpoint Brewing Company, they opened their doors not opened their doors, but broke ground on construction. Maybe about 3-4 months prior to us coming into the San Dimas location building.
Yes.
And it's been so amazing to watch you grow and watch your business just flourish, even in some of the darkest times that you and I were both able to experience, right? And just to see you along with so many other people in our community just come out on the other end of it. Dude, I really want to acknowledge you for who you are for the community, who you are for me, and just who you are as a human being. I've seen you with a group of friends that are always together.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Always together. And one of the things I've noticed about you is it seems to me like you're great with people.
Oh,
right.
Yeah, I'd say I'm halfway decent.
Okay. One of the things that I really would love to get curious with you about is that group of friends that you have. It seems like you guys have known each other for a really, really long time.
A lot of those guys I go back with, one of our beers, Uncle Red, is named after the man that grew up 2 doors down from me, Nick Munson. So you still see him coming around here. That's a 25-year long friendship, at least. And I mean, I'm 38. 37, 38.
somewhere
in that neighborhood.
Somewhere in that neighborhood, give or take.
And, you start to see that kind of friendship with guys like Nicholas, my buddy John, Maddie. Jamie's now coming into the fold in the last several years. So it's fantastic. But yeah, no, a lot of those guys, we go back, since we were 5.
So exactly what you just said is what I imagined when it came to that group of friends that you have. How do you cultivate relationships and friendships with other people that way? And how do you maintain them?
Really, just, as a friend, I think it's one of those, just being there for each other. The idea that you're going to talk every day, or I mean, even nowadays we have text messages, everything like that. It's so easy, but it's not. You don't have to be that way if you're a good friend. Some of my friends I speak with, John lives in Montana now. I was just in Montana to help build out part of his building that he just bought, and I hadn't been there in a year, and prior to that, I had never even been. But it was just one of those. We talk every 6 months, and all of a sudden it's like, all right, here we go. But I mean, a prime example of that is when my grandfather passed a couple of years ago. I just called him on the phone. Was like, hey, listen, we're looking like it's going to be the end here. And I think Matt was there maybe first. He drove all the way from where he was. John came from Montana. And it's that kind of friendship that you don't have to really work on. It's just, hey, when I do really need you, you'll be there. The rest of the time, we just have our friendship always running. The best way I always put it is, it's like seeing somebody, be it, at a house, like your house, or a friend's house. It doesn't matter which one. It's when they walk out the door, you're saying goodbye. You're like, you don't really look at it like, oh, I'll see you in 6 months. You're just saying, I know I'm going to see you again. You know what I mean? And it's until then. It's more like that's not a goodbye till I see you again kind of idea. So, and that's how we've always treated it. All of us have been that way.
What's interesting to me is that I believe most people believe that they're a good friend, even if whether they have many or they don't. For the most part, I feel like people just think like, oh, like, I'm a good friend, right? Like, to the people in my environment, I consider myself to be a good friend. And what I'm hearing from you is the work that it takes to be a good friend. Yes, I get that it's maybe your nature to be that way with each other, but for you to go to Montana, for all of your friends to, in the drop of a dime, give a phone call about your grandpa passing and having them all come and be there for each other. And then the thing that I heard that was gold for me was that you guys let go of expectation. There's no like, dude, what the fuck? You haven't called me in 9 months, right? Or like looking at the phone and it's Maddie, right? And it's like, really, it's been 3 months. And he's like, just calling me now, right? Like there's, I see a lot of this go on in conversations, communications, ways of being. You see it in movies, right? Like, why is it in movies? Because it's a depiction of what the writers, the producers, the authors are seeing happen in real lives, or even in their lives, right? And so there's a lot of expectations that a lot of times people put into friendships, right? And so that part, I think, was the biggest part for me, which you just said, like, hey, like, bye, I know I'm gonna see you. And whether it's in a month or in a year or whenever, it's going to be like you and I never even stop talking.
Yeah, it's an ongoing rolling friendship. I've known John, like I said, 30 years, but I met John and I didn't become close friends until we were in the 8th grade, and it was literally because we sat down on a bench together and started talking the first day of school. And whole thing, but he ended up starting at Rancho his 8th grade year, and he ended up having to come back 3 days later. We went to Goddard and Glendora, and we just started talking. And that's just pretty much how our friendship kept going. It's just that idea of like it just kept going and rolling and rolling and rolling. Never thought about it. Went on his mission. I saw him 2 years later because he came back from it. I was overseas. Same thing. Just kept rolling. You pick up the phone when you can, and if you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you go live your life, and then we'll catch up. And then you know what? There'll probably be a great story or two that I didn't know about. Yeah. And that's how we treat it all the time.
Would you say you viewed it that way prior to the military? Did that have anything to do with the camaraderie of it? Did the military in any way or shape or form contribute to that?
I'm sure it did. You're friends. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to look out for each other.
Yeah.
I look out for you, you look out for me, and when we get together, we get together. It's going to be great. It'll be fun when we do. We'll have a great time.
You make that sound so normal, right? And to me, it sounds normal too. And it really is interesting to me that a lot of people don't see it that way. It's not so much that give and take, right? It's a lot of like, what is one doing for me?
One way to look at it, I guess, is I'm sure you may have enjoyed, like, had an adult beverage with a friend here or there in a bar once or twice, and I'm sure you've paid for your friends, they paid for you, back and forth, right?
Yeah.
But who keeps the running tab? When it's a good friend, who keeps the running tab?
Yeah.
No one thinks about it, and that $20, now the bar tabs are $20 anymore, but
yeah, no, definitely not. But, you know something about that.
But it's that $20 going back and forth. Like, how many times have you traded it back? You don't know. You don't keep count. You don't care.
Yeah.
You really are just about the idea of being together and having fun. And then, that's what it's about, really.
Yeah.
Taking care of each other.
One thing I really love is how natural this happened, because I've been wanting to have a conversation with you about your friendships and your relationships, because I see the same guys in there. They come in, sometimes they don't come in for a while, but then they're back in there and their face is shining and bright, just like it was the last time I seen them. You guys are all having a beer. I know Austin is one of your buddies too that I see there quite a bit.
Right, that's actually the new luxuries that, especially with this place, people like, we call him Kaufman, Chad Kaufman. Got Austin, the Rolandos of the world, all these guys.
The Rolandos of what is that? What's
I love them. I love
the Rolandos of the world.
Those guys, they're great. That's what I'm saying. I love those guys. So it's like I've gotten to foster this friendship out of there with these new guys too. Which don't get me wrong. Obviously, as you said there's a smaller group of people that I normally would hang out with, but these are guys I hang out a lot now, especially because a lot of them are local. But it's wonderful to be able to have a beer and hang out and talk to them. I'm to be there for them when they need things too,
Yeah.
I'm happy to do that if I can. And they're more than happy to help me.
It really is nice and a good feeling to see that perspective. I think sometimes we get this view that like the world is a crazy place, the world is going mad and everything's going crazy, and I truly believe if you looked at the entire globe, you'd have a lot more good than you do bad. I just believe the bad, the negative is louder. It's just louder, right? So it just seems like there's more of it. Even for this podcast, like conversations like the one you and I just had right now, that's why I'm doing this.
Makes sense.
Right? Like that's why I'm doing this. For me, it's like when you sprinkle perfume on you, right? Like you spray perfume on you and it goes on you, but it also happens to get on anybody else that's around you.
Right.
Right. And so ultimately that's really what all of this is, right? Okay. It's me getting as much gold as I can from people. And in exchange, bringing awareness to whatever it is that they're up to. Like I know you're up to a ton. If you could walk away from this podcast, right? And in a week or two, shoot me a message, a text message, give me a call, see me when you're outside and be like, hey dude, like I had 5 people come in last week that said that like they seen the podcast and they fucking sat right there and they had a beer. I win. Me. Like okay, like I'm my commitment of giving more than what I take.
Got it.
Right? Because you're giving me your time, you're giving me all of this gold, and I can give something back.
Fantastic,
and so I truly appreciate you being here and sharing. And with that, Highpoint Brewing Company. When did you decide that Highpoint Brewing Company was going to be created? And what did it take to serve that first beer in your tap room?
The name actually comes from Upland.
Okay.
My partner Chad Phillips lived there, the Highpoint house. That's where the name comes from. That was a conversation that started there several years ago, how long that's been. And then the process of trying to actually get the collateral to start the company. We did it on a shoestring budget, like so many. And but to open a brewery, I mean, also just the legal loopholes to jump through with like the A, B, C and whatnot. Just what a dance that becomes. Because you get this, like I said, loophole of like you can't work on your building until the ABC approves of it. So then that could be 3 months, 4 months. But then maybe you can work on it. It becomes such a fun dance to do. Yeah, I mean, but it took so much time. And then Chad was the guy that got it done though, because he was able to get the money out of the house to be able to get us to where we were, make it all work. I mean, he really was. I mean, he's a numbers man through and through, so he understands it all. I try, but he is much better at it than I am.
I try.
The guy's a freaking aerospace engineer. He's a genius. There's no other way of putting it. And getting that to that point though, oh man, like getting. It's all flooding back at the moment.
There you go.
Think about all the equipment,
and that's what I want to do.
It's that. Yeah, like, it's cutting concrete. It's like I walked through this building in this room that we're sitting in, and I remember this had just been vacated by
Women's Golf Club, something
scholarships. They've been here for 30-something years. They had all 3 locations. My back area, where like the big party area is, was their like the president, I think VP's private parking spots. They actually parked inside, and. Yeah, I mean, man, really coming all back. But I mean, we ran. Once we had the money, once we had the location, we did run. Full speed. We ended up having we cut the concrete ourselves, trenched it, did everything. Chad's cousin Travis was a huge help. We dropped everything ourselves to save on cost. But that was all within, God, I think we opened within 11 months.
From registering to the ABC and all that, and doing the corporation, all the paperwork to the time you served your first beer, 11 months?
Probably a little bit more, because with the paperwork, as you know, it's you have to get the location, then you have to sit on the location for a month to announce what it is when it comes to alcohol, and we can contend it. But the ABC, for instance, that portion, we had to essentially just stand up. We had to just wait for 4 months, I think it was, where we weren't supposed to touch the building at all. I would say from the time we actually were got the keys to the point where we actually served that first beer was 11 months. Yeah, we were trying to go faster, but
And how blessed are you? One, you said aerospace engineer. Chad is good with numbers, right? And then 2, you shared with me that you have experience in construction.
Yes. When I got out of the service, I was doing construction. My stepdad, Richard, he ended up having me come on with him and start doing. It was drywalling, things like that, and then it was construction as a whole. He was running his own company, which was entertaining because I would actually build houses, build it all out, do all that stuff, and then I also worked in a place called Kennel Lake Pavilion. So I was a tech, but I was actually the guy building the sets. So we had somebody designing, and then I had another buddy, and we worked together, Sean.
Like movie sets?
No, play sets, playhouses. We would build the sets you'd go see. So I was building fake houses and real houses at the same time.
Got it.
Yeah. So one you said use your mind like it was a home. The other one was an actual house you walk in. So, but yeah, that was so. I did have construction background, and then I actually went into a union and I actually started doing pipe fitting. So that's what I ended up doing. Local 709, which is the sprinkler fitter guys.
Wow.
So and I still hang out with those guys. So they're a lot of fun. But I was with them before we actually opened this. So I was working that job and then building out Highpoint at the same time.
So when did you stop working anywhere else but Highpoint?
We opened in November 2018, so August.
Wow.
August of 2018.
What was that like to leave the job you've been doing for so long and in the construction and the union? And because, dude, I know some union people and it's not easy. The getting into the union and the this and the that and the other and everything you got to do just to be one of those guys. I know that in itself is a whole nother thing.
The union gig was fantastic. The guys I worked with were really what I loved. Because man, we worked some terrible hours together. But Steve, Matt, even though I hate Matt, Dan, Jose, all those guys, Nick. I'm just going through this. Ryan, I'm thinking of all the guys I worked with. I worked with him. I worked for Costco, but it wasn't that Costco. It was a Costco that's bigger than that Costco.
Got it.
So when you see the side of the freeway, or not the freeway, but train track, stuff like that, when you see the
Costco,
Costco, massive multi-international company. Most people just don't know. They make step stools or they have something else. They're this ridiculously large company, but for some reason they own sprinkler companies here in Southern California. Don't know why. Worked for them. Worked for a massive. So they were massive, but I worked with a small group inside. Ricky Simon Jr. was our super, and man, oh man, we worked everywhere, and it was fun. We had a great time, and as I was working with those guys, like I said, it's the same thing as with the service. I feel with those guys, where it was we're going through so many miserable hours. We worked nights together so many times, and but I made that was what was hard to leave. Is that where it comes back around on? It's just it wasn't so much the work, even though it did pay well, it had great benefits. I loved all of that, but it really was just, the hard part was just leaving those guys. That's really all I cared about. And I still get to see them here and there. They still pop into my place.
I'm sure pop in, have a beer. Yeah.
But they live all over, unfortunately, too. You know, guys are just everywhere because we all drive in. So
I get that it was the camaraderie that was hard to leave. Right? Like I get that it was that. And you were also leaving for something I'm sure you believed in.
Right.
And was still unknown.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. And so what was that experience like?
You know, it's in that case, you're taking a calculated risk, but you're still jumping in, you know, I mean, I don't have a background with working at another brewery, you know, and neither does Chad, but it's, you know, Chad doesn't make beer and let's go figure it out, you know? So that's what I was going for.
So let me ask you this, why beer?
We all love it.
Well, I get that, but like who brought it up between you and Chad? Who was the one that was like, let's do beer? Were you guys having a beer when you said, well, we should
100%.
do like,
if I had to guess, this conversation, if I remember correctly, happened on a white couch, which was Chad's, in Highpoint House. And we were watching football, and there was probably a dozen of us watching football on a Sunday. And that's probably how it happened.
Yeah.
I remember correctly. Yeah, it sounds right.
And one of you guys said, like, dude, we should get into this beer thing.
Yeah. It was probably a bunch of us talking about it, and then it was like, oh yeah, and that was, you know, several years ago. So,
but nobody was already brewing. Like there was nobody.
Oh, no, Chad was. Chad has a fantastic story. His first brewing kit was I loved it. It was a how was it? It was a gravity fed system. So he took steel tubing, welded it up, and then he did all this work. I came into it, and so it was wonderful because it was all black. And he used what did he use? Barbecue, like the propane barbecue, and he hooked it to his house and made a line that ran over and hooked it up, and it went up and it was able to heat and then heat down here for the boil and then come down. Oh man, that was fantastic. I mean, he did exactly what he was supposed to. And he learned how to do this when he was like 19.
19.
Yeah. He wasn't drinking because that would be illegal.
Yes, absolutely.
He was, but he did learn how to do it. He learned it from the gentleman. I don't remember the gentleman's name, but he had they did that together, and I thought, man, that's great. And then after that, once we really got a little more serious, we ended up buying a new kit. He sold that one off. We bought another one from S&S Brew Tech, and it was just like a little half barrel system. I love it. We actually still own it. And
really?
Yeah.
I'd love to see that.
Little pilot batch thing. I love it. It's and it had two little half barrel fermenters that came with it. And so no. Chad knew how to do all of that. Chad is that guy right there, the brains.
So what I'm getting from what you're saying is Chad already had over a decade of brewing experience, in a sense, before even opening up Highpoint.
Oh yeah, no, Chad definitely knew how to do it. Yeah, that Uncle's Red recipe is the oldest recipe we have, and that's 12 years old, 13 years. It's an older recipe. So yeah.
So you guys still have one of the OG recipes, which is the red, Uncle Red.
Yeah, another one's been I think tweaked a little bit here and there, but the red is that is Chad's first right there.
I can see everything that it took to get it. Right? Like, yes, you are where you are now, but man, having to take a loan out of a home, any home, doesn't matter whose home, right? Having to do all that work yourself, and definitely managing the landlords that own this place has never been easy, and it still isn't easy, right? And so I can see all of this work and sacrifice, like leaving a union job, like even if the camaraderie was really what was hard for you to leave. Nonetheless, you were leaving some form of security blanket. You were leaving something you had been doing for so long that was working. Right? Like, it's not like it wasn't working. Right? Like, I'm doing horrible. I need something different. Right? And then to leave all that and start this, I've heard it so many times, right? That there's so many people who think that business owners are lucky.
Right.
Like, they're lucky to own a business. Or they see someone like you with, the brewery you have and the fermenters and this, and now you guys got Claremont, like all of this stuff. And it's like, that's because they have money, right? It's never like, it's because they got a loan. It's like, no, it's because they have money.
That's ridiculous.
I think it's absolutely ridiculous.
No, I mean, I don't get me wrong. Obviously, you can take the 10%, take that, throw it out, because that's going to be something for those people. And it could be a higher number than 10%. I don't know, but the idea that everyone has money that opens up something is just asinine. We opened, like I said, on a shoestring budget. I won't mention a place that just recently opened around here. The place out the door is worth millions of dollars is what it took to open it. And you're like, man, that must be nice. Oh, I couldn't imagine. We operated so small and then had to expand out from there. But yeah, the idea like, oh, we had all this money to get, no. You know, I don't explain to you watching on Bottom Line going, okay, we really need to figure this out now.
Yeah.
Because this isn't working. Let's go to that route. And then, okay, this works for a while. Then next thing, and then next thing. Then it's like, oh, wait, we're back down. Same thing all the time. So, no, that idea, like, oh, yeah, it was easy. And yeah, right.
No.
Yeah, right. No.
Absolutely not. And I want to make this really clear because I think it's important. There's places all over the place where they open with a lot of money, right? They have capital. But even then, they might have not saved the money up themselves. They might have not like sweat and everything physically for that money themselves. But the work it takes to create the kind of relationships, right? We were just talking about that a little while ago. Create the kinds of relationships where people trust you enough. And they see that the kind of human being that you are is a good enough human being to them that they're willing to loan you, or they're willing to invest in you, or you're like, because raising capital is not just like lift up your hand and money falls, right? Like in order to raise capital, you need relationships. Right. You need to know people, right? And if you were an asshole, you wouldn't have the relationships I see you have. You wouldn't have the growth I see you have. You wouldn't have all of these people that come into your business day in and day out that I see happily support your business. You would not have that. Like, I don't care who you are. Eventually, it's not sustainable. People will leave you and they will run the other direction. Right?
Absolutely.
And so someone who can go out and raise capital, that takes something too. It's a different kind of something, right? Than our experience. Right? Completely different. Nonetheless, it takes something. Right? And so even for that, for people who think like, oh, like they were able to raise a lot of money. Yes. Was it their money? Absolutely not. Does it take something though? To be able to do that? Yes. Because if not, let's say you go raise $1 million.
Yeah. Oh yeah, trust me.
Ready, set, go.
Yeah. I tell you all the time, if everyone would do it, it wouldn't be special. I mean, they would go do it. That's how I look at that. You would go do it. It's really that easy. You know, you could say you're going to leave your job, you're going to go do these things, but if you really believe in it, that's the only way it's going to happen.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what that thing is, but it's something that is, you know, anybody who owns a small business, and it could be anything. I mean, come on, between you and I, it's a barber shop and a brewery. You know what I mean? Like just two different things. And you're like, all right, well there you go. Like there's plenty of other people with the same dream who want a restaurant, a nail salon. It doesn't matter what it is, a gym. It doesn't matter. Yeah, they have to go convince them.
Yeah, and if you don't take the actions, none of it happens.
No, not at all.
Right? There's so many people who want things. Right? There's so many people who desire to have, and their actions just don't match. Right? Oh, because they have help, because they have this. It still takes action. Right? Like if I just sat on the couch, it didn't matter how much help I had. It didn't matter how many people said, "Hey, let me help you. Hey, let's go do this. Hey, partner with me to go do that." No investment. Right? If I just sit on the couch, none of it's happening. Right? Like everything takes action. Right? The way that I see it is, if you're somewhere other than where you want to be and you're not happy, right? Because I'm definitely not where I want to be, and I'm super excited about where I'm at, right? But like, if you're not where you want to be and you're unhappy about it, I believe it's because action is missing.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that's definitely true. I'm not sure, obviously, with how you went about it, but the idea that, like, with us, where Chad and I were both employed before we went into this, to be able to get going and get onward and upward. Yeah. That way you can kind of get your foot wet and see how you like it. But, you know, some people jump in both feet, and that's fine too. So you opened up 6 years ago now. 5 years. We just hit 5 years in November.
So you opened up 5 years ago. What has you want to start doing things like with the chambers and the city? Is it just for small business networking, or has there always been some sort of passion there with doing community work?
For me, I've always loved volunteer work with my time in the service and getting out, and then I was just working. I fell in with a group that's called Team Rubicon.
Okay.
It's a veteran-based group out of LA. Jake Wood and I can never remember his partner's name started it. It's a nonprofit. It's massive now. When I started, they were very small. They traveled literally the entire world. It came with Haiti. When Haiti, remember when that got hit?
Yeah.
There were 6 of them. They went down there. They weren't a group. They were all Marine Corps buddies. They went down there. They did what they can. They got medicine. They got doctors. They went down. They helped what they could do. Then Jake and crew decided to start their own non-for-profit. They moved forward, and then it grew and it grew and it grew and grew. So any kind of natural disaster you see around here, not just in California, but the country/world, they're called something different now in other parts of the world, but in America they're still called Team Rubicon. I believe it's Team Rubicon Canada still. So TR grew and grew and grew. When I hopped on with them, there was, I want to say 20,000. I think there's like 100 and something thousand now volunteers with them.
Wow.
They got me more into it. And when they say 20,000 volunteers, there's like only 400 of them, as they refer to as deploying, because you go for a week at a time to, you'd be working a flood, a fire, tornadoes, anything like that. You go to an area, you'd be, I kid you not, I've been in the middle of nowhere, Missouri, where that exact idea where there's no lights in the town and it's just one strip and it's like 10 stores on one side, 10 stores on the other side, the rest is farm. To I have been Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I've been working outside the Budweiser plant in North Carolina. I've worked fires here in California. I joined up with them and they really started to light. I already had a volunteer streak through me, but I spent like a year of my time doing a lot of active time going with them, going all over, which was a lot of fun. Got to do all kinds of fun things with them, but also work all these disasters, meet people from, it's not just military. They refer to them as kick-ass civilians, part of it too. Then they also have folks from EMS are big on it too. It's primarily military and primarily Marine Corps in America. They just got me going. And then that, once I got into with Highpoint, it was how can I continue to keep doing more? I'm not sure where the service portion of me derives from, but I find that I absolutely enjoy the heck out of it, and it got me involved. I was speaking with Mike Wallace, who's the VP of the chairman for the chamber, and he wasn't at the time. So we just started talking, and then it was like, hey, I'm really interested in what I can do for the betterment of San Dimas. Obviously, it's going to work out for me, but at the same time, I'd like to see the city of San Dimas as a whole. I mean, how do we get more commerce, if you will, in this city? How can I help the businesses that are currently here? And so I wasn't gunning to be the chairman. I came on, we were obviously part of the chamber. I came on to the board. They brought me on, Mike Walsh and then crew, that board brought me on. And then I was on that for just a little bit, and then I became the chair. And that I got involved because I just wanted to see San Dimas do better. I'm with the Satellite Rotary Club also as the chair, and it's for the military families. We do 29 Palms, where we do food deliveries twice a year. There's a lot of food insecurity in the service, so anyone between the ranks of like E5 and down, so like E5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, they have food pantries on a lot of these military bases that people are unaware of, and that we now provide for 29 Palms because a group of volunteers wanted to do it. Raymond Foster, if you want to talk about a band that's a volunteer and has just this drive that is fascinating, and wow, I don't even know how to describe that man, because he is about not caring about getting credit. He is about watching things get done, and wow. But he brought me into the fold of the Satellite, and that allowed me to continue with my volunteer work. So that is just me watching that. We're able to get food to our service members. That's what I care about. So we were 29 Palms, and we're looking at Camp Pendleton and Fort Irwin also. But right now we're collecting in March and September. The large ones in September. The large ones in March. The smaller ones in September. Done about 8 tons of food. It's food, baby, like diapers, things like that. So, my volunteerism is, yes, it has benefited me obviously in the sense of like the chamber, but like with the Satellite Rotary, it's more just knowing that people are being able to eat that I'm more interested in.
What are the opportunities that have opened up for you?
Okay.
Right? that come from you being of service to the community and being chair of the chambers and being part of the Rotary. And then the next question I'm going to ask you, because it's just been in my space since you started talking, is like, how do you find the time for all this? Or does it maybe not take up as much time as I or people would think it does?
We live in the day and age of phone calls and emails,
Okay.
So that's kind of a luxury.
Communication is just... So what I get, it's maybe more communication than like a hands-on, or is it both?
It's both. But we do have someone like Sylvia, works for the chamber. She's actually the CEO of the chamber, and she's fantastic. She is the day in and day out. As chair of the chamber, I'm still a volunteer. We have a conversation. I have a board. We work together. We have our meetings are once a month. It's a Zoom thing.
Nice. Once a month.
We still, depending on how many ribbon cuttings are happening or events in the city as a whole, depends on how many times we'll obviously see each other. It beneficial, as you're asking, like how's it beneficial?
Or opportunities, like for example, one opportunity that I seen of you being of service with Team Rubicon was the opportunity to travel, the opportunity to make create new relationships, right? The opportunity to see things that you otherwise would have never been able to experience had it not been for being of service, right? Like, I don't think you were doing it for any of those reasons. And they were opportunities nonetheless. At least opportunities that I'm seeing. Maybe they weren't opportunities to you, but maybe they were. What have been some of the opportunities that you've been able to get because of your service? I guess
some of the things I benefit from, like things that have opened up, is that I know all our elected officials, for instance, in the city, right? I'm on a first name basis with everyone. That's there because they are involved. People may not see that, but I do have the luxury of, I was just at we did Ace's right up the street. Ace did they're 50 years old, so I did their photo op yesterday, and that allowed for us to meet those people, which is like, it's for me, it's like, oh, I get to actually meet the owner of Ace, which is wonderful. Yeah. But your elected officials that people don't see in San Dimas, like the mayor's there and he's talking to and he's doing what he can. The city manager, Chris, is there. Eric was there, city council member. John, city council member. Like, all these guys are there, and it's our local Ace. And they're going, hey man, we're really happy to see you so successful. It's been 50 years. Wow, job well done. And for me, it's like I'm able to talk to these people and see what's going on, and they're very open. So those opportunities, I would say, come from being able to meet with folks like this and go, oh wow, this is what's happening. That's being built over there. Like I get more of an idea of what's being built around town, or where the commerce is going in general. It helps me in that way. But I also get to meet fascinating people who also know a lot. Margie Green is a perfect example of someone who's in charge of the Historical Society, and what a vast knowledge. Been here for 40 years from Texas. Wonderful lady. And she, I can ask questions. Like it's another great opportunity. It's like I look at like her, or like Dave, who's my treasurer for the chamber. He is just, you get like the learn about it. Something you probably don't know about. That's such a random thing. It always, for some reason, pops in my head about San Dimas. Is there was the San Demon that no one knows about. It's our Loch Ness monster. It's something like that, but there's no photo of it. Apparently, it was like a mayor's dog from like 60 years ago or something. And I always think it's hilarious. But, I get to ask, like, why is that bug in my ear? What is going on? And then all of a sudden, they're like, oh, no, I've never heard of that. Or, oh, yeah, no, here's that ugly dog.
The San Demon?
San Demon. And it always makes me laugh. So, I have access to a lot of things like that in being in charge of the chamber. But, that's an absolute plus to be able to do that. I don't know that. I think I probably have a little bit more access, but I mean, everyone really has the same. Yeah. I'm just, by being interested and being able to do volunteer work with them, it allows for me an opportunity to be able to keep touching base and see how things are going. And I think that's what the biggest opportunity, or the biggest benefit is. I'm always, for the most part, always abreast of everything that's going on in the city, which, I'd like to know. I'm very fond of the city of San Dimas.
So and you're connected. That's what, in a sense, like, that's really what I'm hearing. Like, you get the opportunity to be connected to these human beings. Right. Whatever you get, whatever you don't get, whatever you give, it doesn't, just to be in the presence of some of these minds. Right. Some of these people who have worked really hard to get where they're at. Yeah, absolutely. Right. And like the encyclopedia of San Dimas that you just talked about, right? Like that took something, right, for that person to get there, and for you to be able to have access to that wealth of knowledge and wealth of work.
Oh, absolutely. And to your point, that just they've been around. Some of these guys have been around longer. I mean, Dave is a perfect example of someone that I'm thankful to know because he allows for me to be, when we were in charge, like the chamber was in charge of the birthday bash. It's in August for San Dimas. They hold one every year. Dave remembers the days of like, oh yeah, we used to dig a hole, we put a pig or two in it, and then we sold every plate for $5. And you're like, when was that? 72. Oh, okay, great. I wasn't even close to being born yet. But it's like he knows that. Boom, it's right there locked in his head.
Wow.
And it allows, because we do with the chamber and everything, where we do a lot of events for the city, and it's like, oh, to your point, it's an encyclopedia to be able to go back and go, so what did we do then? And maybe we can pull something out of that and into it. Or it's like, oh, that failed horribly. Good to know.
We're not going to do
that. You know what? We already tried that.
Stay away from that one.
Exactly. We tried that in '83. Fantastic. Good to know.
Yep.
Maybe times have changed. We'll tweak it a little bit. Yeah, we'll stay out of it. So no, I mean, it definitely allows for success.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
I don't try to pretend that I know everything by any means, and I will lean on anyone that has, and a lot of people do, a lot more knowledge about things than I do.
Yeah, that's amazing, man, because you have people, right? And ultimately, I think that's what we all need to succeed.
Yeah.
Right? At the end of the day, yes, I will say it is one. We do create our own reality. We do create our own success. We are the creators of all that we do with the help of others.
Right.
Right? Like, yes, you do it on your own.
Right.
With their help.
Right.
Like, yes, you did that thing with their help. Right. And you can only do so much on your own.
You have to have a drive.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like people don't seem to quite understand, is that you still have to have the drive.
Yes.
You can have all the people, you can have all the help you want, as you were saying earlier. If you don't have a drive to do it, it doesn't really matter. If you have that drive, you can, and are personable enough, you can get people to help you to do what you need, which makes even things better. Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of people, I'm sure, that have just a fire in them that has driven them to get where they need to go, and they did it by themselves. I don't doubt that for a moment.
Not a moment.
Yeah. So
I think that's where that saying comes from, though, that it's lonely at the top. I don't believe that.
Right.
Like, I don't believe that. I mean, if you knocked everybody's building down so yours can be the biggest, then yes, you're going to be very alone. Right. But like, if you build your own building, right, and on the way help others build theirs, and yours just happens to be the highest building, then it's the highest building.
Right.
But you're surrounded by so many.
Right.
So many. Right. So like you said, you got to have the drive, but not at the cost of others, not at the cost of your relationships, not at the cost of the people in your life.
Right.
Right. And yes, not everybody is for everybody. You're going to lose some people.
Right.
Right. Especially if you have drive, if you have ambition, if you have dreams and goals that are bigger than most others, then yes, you're not going to be for everyone.
Right.
You're going to lose people along the way.
Absolutely.
Not because you kicked them out, but just because it's just, you're not for everyone.
Right.
Right. And a lot of the times the one, like the people who hope to get where you're going and just don't have the drive are usually the ones that unfortunately you end up losing.
Yeah.
Or hopefully you end up inspiring. Right. One of the two, but nonetheless, like you're not going to be for everyone.
No.
Right. Especially if you're driven.
Right.
Right. And that doesn't mean it's lonely at the top.
Right.
By any means. All right. So this one I'm actually going to read because I want to say it the way that I wrote it, just because I do believe this when I say this about you. In the 5 years that I've known you, I've rarely seen you anything but optimistic, in good spirits, and always with a smile on your face. What are the situations that take you out of that space, and how do you sustain that space as well as I see it?
I feel as if, though, you can walk around and be down and out about a lot of things in life. There's plenty of things that, I'm sure for me bum me out that I don't think about, or just life experiences in general, I guess you could say.
Like what? Like what would you say is like damn, like when this one thing happened or happens that like takes me out?
I guess I was told a long time ago that you can tell someone, oh man, how's your day going? And they could be like, it's okay, it's not great. Or, it's been better. What is that doing for anybody other than bumming somebody else out? And that's my personal feeling about that. That's how I look at those kind of things. Or when someone asks, how's your day going? You can say it's terrific.
Fucking amazing.
It's going great.
Yeah.
Really? How you doing?
Fantastic.
Fantastic. You've heard me say it a million times. How you doing? Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Yep. Doing great. Why? Because that makes everyone else around you feel good.
Yeah.
Because 90% of the time when someone asks how you're doing, it's an opening question, but they're not really paying attention. And that's fine.
Yeah.
But I want to engage with somebody, I want them, when they're engaging with me, if they're going out of the way or either or, I guess I like to look at it and go, okay, well, I'm just going to say I'm fantastic. Doesn't matter if something's bumming me out. Like, I wouldn't even think about it. It's like, let's just go. You know, it's kind of that old adage of like, you know, I love that saying, like, let's go, get in there kind of thing. That is how I approach it. It's just, I could be bummed. I could.
Yeah.
What's that going to get me?
Yeah.
And it's not going to help anybody else in the room. Or they're like, to your point, he's upbeat. He's fantastic. That guy's over there. He's smiling. He's going. If you put a smile on, you can keep moving forward. You know, it's really cheesy, but you know, you're never fully dressed without a smile. That kind of idea.
Got it. Yeah.
So you know, hence the old love of musical theater for me. But yeah, I just don't see how it's ever beneficial to not be brightening someone else's day. I wouldn't want to drag them down by saying something like that.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying that's for everyone. For me, I want to. You know, I have a lot of things to be thankful for in my life, and I'm choosing more and more to just kind of look at them and say, okay, you've got it pretty good. You should keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's rough patches for everybody. That's not, and I don't know everyone's personal story. That's the thing. I don't. But for me, I've had rough patches. That's fine. But why would I put that burden on someone else? Is my logic. So the constant like optimism and you know, here's the thing. I don't have to explain this to you there, Jose. I mean, that idea of like, you know what it's like to own a small business. You know the gripes. You know the okay, and just to sit there and think. I don't know about you, but I'm a pacer.
Me too.
Yeah.
If I talk on the phone, if I'm on the phone, I'm pacing.
Right. So there's that, or I just pace in general. I have a tendency to walk. I'll walk around this building. I walk around to my office. I just walk. I like to do it. It's my way of thinking. So, but you understand that, and I'm sure there's plenty of people who do that. They get that idea of, yeah, I mean, it's in my head, but why are we projecting on anyone else?
Yeah.
Also, you know, you've heard this, I'm sure you've heard the same things that I have, like to project that you're optimistic and happy. You can also start to feel that way about everything all the time, going, okay.
Act as if.
Yeah, exactly. And you can there's nothing wrong with that, being optimistic and realistic at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm being real about what's going on, but I'm going to be optimistic about it. To your point, you need to drive to work at it and make it better, but that's what we're looking at. So that's how I feel about it. So what pulls me out, I don't even focus on it. Honestly, I don't know if I really have a lot of time to.
Got it. Yeah. Well, that I can get.
That's part of it too. It's like I don't really have a lot of time. So, you know, and everything is really just a problem that's being weighed. Like everything you encounter is not necessarily like a problem. It's a math problem. Everything is, you're working it out. So
everything's got a solution.
Yeah. So if you just slowly keep looking at it and going, okay, well, what can I do here? What can I do here?
As opposed to getting stuck in that spot.
Right. You know, and if you do that, it's just, for me, it's not, that solution is not unattainable. So I choose to be optimistic about it and say, this is what I'm working towards. And, you know, yeah, days are harder some days than others. I'm sure, yeah, absolutely. That's not news.
Yeah.
But, you know, why not be optimistic about it?
Yeah. Dude, I love this conversation. I love this conversation because this is a similar conversation I've had before. Like, that's one of the things that and lately, one of the things that I've been saying to people is like, when they're like, oh, like, how are you doing? I'm like, dude, phenomenal. I woke up today and in this moment I got 10 fingers and I got 10 toes, which means I got 2 arms because if I was missing one leg, I wouldn't have 10 toes. Right. And so the fact that I have the 10 toes means I have my 2 legs. It means I have my torso. It means I have, you know, the fact that I have my 10 fingers, it means I have my 2 hands, my 2 arms, my 2 shoulders, right? Like it's all there, right? Like it's all there. And that's something I've been playing with in communication for the past like year, 2 years, which is that experience that you give others when they ask you, how's your day? I've really seen the automaticness of it. Like it's an automatic, how you doing? Good. How's everything? Oh, it's great. Or like it's okay, hanging in there. I think it's to both parties. It gives this like disempowering experience. For me, not that everything is good, not that there's no problems, not that everything's perfect, but I really do believe that it's got to take something to have you be anything else other than fantastic. If you wake up in the morning and you look at your cell phone and you got no missed calls, especially from the top 10 people in your life,
right.
dude, like, you're golden.
Yeah.
Like, you're good, right? Whatever is coming ahead that you might be a little concerned about, like you said, if you just keep going, you'll get the solution. It's when you get stuck.
Oh, yeah.
That then there's no solution.
To that point, everyone's tired. You know, that's kind of that idea. Everyone's tired. I think that's how we all operate. We're all tired. But it's not really about just being tired. It's about getting up. That's the idea.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It's like, okay, yeah, you're down, but okay, keep going. If you just keep going. My time in the service, I learned that it doesn't really matter how tired you are. If you can just keep moving your feet. And if you can keep moving, you're doing pretty good. You know, I'm sure everyone is probably tired of hearing me say that. It's like, if you're boost, keep going. You just keep putting one in front of the other and you keep going. That means you're probably pretty much upright. Yeah, some things have happened, but that's fine. Keep going.
Yeah.
Because you're still heading towards where you're trying to get to.
Yeah.
You know, you get a little better, you get a little worse, you go up and down, it's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And awareness too.
Yeah.
Right? I think there's a lot of pushback on the hustle culture. Like, you keep going, you work. I think it's also important to be able to recognize, like, okay, my boost is down.
Right.
Right? Like, in this moment, I am tired. But I'm intentionally going to stop. I am aware that in this moment, I am going to choose to take a break. But not because I'm done.
Right.
Not because I feel like I'm failing or like I'm not getting where I'm going.
Right.
Right? But because I feel like if I take this small break, I will be able to take the next 200 steps so much faster.
Yeah.
Or so much better. Or so much more effective. Right?
Yeah.
I think it's just not getting stuck in that break.
Yeah, that's kind of what it's about me, yeah.
But yeah, you just got to keep going.
It doesn't really matter how slow it's going. It's going at least.
Yeah.
You know, that's pretty much how I treat it, yeah.
If you really look at your life, right? Not your finances, not your this, not your that, not your the other. Like, are you breathing? Check. Right? Like, do you got all your limbs? Check. Right? Like, are you cancer free?
Yeah.
Check. Right? Like, are you diabetes? Like, there's so many people that can check off a lot of these boxes instantly.
Right.
Without doing anything. They don't have to go and win first place at anything to be in a good place.
Right.
In an instant, you can check off all of these boxes and see, like, dude, you're fucking golden. You're golden, right? If anybody ever asks you how you're doing, like, I don't know what gets in the way of you saying amazing, blessed, grateful.
Right.
Like, I'm here in front of you, able to hear and see you asking me this question.
Right.
Just those two things alone. The fact that you're able to see the person asking you the question and hear the person asking you the question.
Right.
Jesus Christ. I've had that conversation, a few times before, and every time I have it, I just get to see it more and more. Like, it just becomes more real. If we don't share the things that are in here, right? Then when are they real? If you journal them, that too, that works, right? Like you're putting whatever's in here out here. And fucking half the time you notice that when you go to say it, it sounds nothing like it was in here, right? Or you go to write it out and you think you had it all figured out, and then you're like, maybe that word's not really what I was trying to use, right? Like, maybe that's not the way I feel now that I'm reading it. That kind of sounds pretty ridiculous, right? Like, it's because they don't become in here. They're real, but they're not.
Right.
It's the saber-toothed tiger that's not there.
Right.
Right. But like, once you put it out here and you see that it's no saber-toothed tiger, you're like, creating that and being aware that's real for me is huge. You shared with me that one of your hobbies is reading.
Right.
What would you say has been the most influential book in your life? And what is the book you're reading now?
Trump's book. That's what it was. It was Trump's book about. No, I'm just, I did read that book, but I did not. I don't know that that was the most
influential book. I just like pressing buttons.
That's all it is. I just like to start fires. I don't know that there's any one book. There are books that will always stand out to me, and I think it's something that just helped me. And it's this is a great one. It's really ridiculous. I don't even actually name the book. It was Tim Allen's biography, and it was it was just a story. It was a life story. He was just writing about it. That's all it was. And I know that's not like a super influential book. It was more like it helped continue my reading for some reason. I think I read that book like twice, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I haven't read it probably in 25 years.
For anybody that wants to brew or anybody that wants to open a brewery, what are some of the challenges that you would invite them to look for? And what are some of the great things that you also invite them to look for?
The challenges are abundant. There's no two ways about that. But if someone said they wanted to brew beer, which I hear, you have no idea how many times I hear people, not just like, if you want to brew beer, I love it. Please do that. There's a way to do it. They have homemade kits. Try them if you'd like. If that's how you're going to start, great. Start there.
Yeah, yeah.
But, you probably have a friend that makes beer, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Ask them. There's no reason not to. And see if it's something you really dig. If you dig it, or if you're like, I just want to make it to make it. Cool, too. That's rad. Make beer. I don't know. You might make the best beer recipe in the entire world, and I might be the biggest fan of you. There's a lot of struggles. That's with any business. I would always recommend talking to another person that actually owns a brewery. We spoke with a brewery that they sat down with us for 3 hours. It was Roke or Rock. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I always forget. Lars and his partner sat down with us for like 3 hours, and we're just like, here's a bunch of things you probably don't know. And it was wonderful, and we learned a lot that day. I would recommend sitting down with them and telling them like, oh yeah, or asking them questions. Be open-minded. That's every company, but like be open-minded to what is actually going to work. I watched, I get people that, like, oh, I know what everybody wants. And when I own my own brewery, I'm going to make that beer. And you're like, well, maybe you do. I'm not going to sit here and say you don't, but maybe you'll have a little more open-minded. Usually, but honestly, most people that want to make beer, they just want to make it. And it's like, fantastic. And you'll learn real quick that either you want to be in the business of brewing and making beer, or you really just enjoy making craft beer. Because I've seen it happen time and time again, where people keep making beer, they keep making it, and then they get into this industry and they kind of see it, not necessarily owning it, but maybe brewing beer or doing some portion of it. And they realize, oh, I have no interest in like the actual, I don't want to put it, work side of it. Like, yes,
the business
side of it. Yeah, like brewing beer is very important. Obviously, it's the number one priority. But the business side of it, when they go, oh wait, I have no interest in that. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to have those conversations.
And I'm saying this because you shared with me that navigating the beer market as a whole was the challenge. What did you mean by that?
It's all the business side of everything. I mean, everyone. There's always a joke like, oh, I can own a brewery because I drink the profits, right? I get that joke all the time, and then that's fine. But like you get this idea that, or people from the outside have this idea like it's just all rainbows and lollipops and there's beer and you can drink and let's go. Except for the part where there's still business. That you still have to conduct business all the time. I own a brewery that operates 7 days a week, and it's not just running on good vibes. There's still a lot of conversations of, money, capital, what's happening in distribution, the marketing side of it, partnerships, everything that's going on all the time, anything that goes with any business. It's just, there's that idea in beer that we aren't just all partying all the time. And you're like, I'm not saying we probably don't party more than most people. I'm not saying that's not the case. I'm saying it's still a business, it's still a job, You hear that with any comedian that's like, yeah, I still got to go to work. And you're like, you tell jokes for a living and 20,000 people are going to watch. And you're like, right, but that's still my job. Like, I got to go to work. It's making beer is the same thing. It's like, yes, it's there's a lot of fun aspect to it, as we were saying before. But it's still a business. You still have to work. So that navigation through the beer world, it's no different than you navigating through the business world of your own. It's just people who are trying to come into the industry think it's just purely like, oh, it's just a party all the time. It's still a job.
Yeah.
Like, it's still that. Like, I can't emphasize that enough. So anyone that wants to get into the industry, go talk to a guy who owns a brewery. Go talk to, if they don't have time for that, go talk to people who work there. Go get a job in one of those. Go be a cellar master, and get in and start to understand what's going on around you, because you start to get the aspects of that no one else gets, because they're, it's any job. You go and you're like, everyone thinks it's something, and then the people that are on the inside know what's really going on.
Yeah.
And it's not just the boss, it's everybody. And there's different aspects and different levels of what people know. But that's every job you had. And if you're interested in beer, go do something like that. Like, there are plenty of people who'd say like, oh yeah, I could have you do this, or whatever you want to do this. There's little jobs here and there, or Someone needs an assistant brewer, and it might not be glamorous. It might be pulling spent grain and all that. Okay, that's your job. You're the low man. That's how it works. You're a cellar master stacking kegs. Okay, that's what it is. But you start getting in and you start seeing what's happening. You're going, oh, I am really interested in this. I'm fascinated by this aspect. Like, yeah, maybe stacking kegs isn't fun, but you're not stacking kegs all day, every day. You're starting to learn, okay, I'm doing this, but at the same time, I'm talking to the head brewer. I'm talking to one of the people who work at the bar, like they work at the actual bar itself, like in the tap room. And you're like, oh, this is all the different aspects. You have to know how to do all of it. Like maybe you're not, you don't have to know how to brew, but like, okay, this is the people doing it on that side. Go immerse yourself in it to understand what you're looking at. Because you could sit down and talk. That's going to go great. But once you really start to get into it, you're going to see what's going on. You have an aspect of what the real world of it looks like. Like, like I said, I have no interest in. I just want to have the beer and then I want to drink it and stand in the tap room and talk to people.
That's it.
That is a common thing I hear about in my industry. So that I'm saying all that because that is the way I would see that you would really get to understand how the brewing world works. So, that. Yeah, that would be
immerse yourself.
Immerse yourself in
it.
Yeah, really,
got it.
There's something to go.
And what are the challenges when it comes to the red tape of it? Like, that's one thing I've personally wondered. Like, what does it take to get the alcohol license? What is that process like?
Oh, that's dealing with ABC. They're there.
Can anybody do it? Can anybody apply? Does it cost money? Like what?
Yes, I don't know that. I'm not sure what red tape it comes to about who can't own a liquor license. There's different levels. We currently carry I think it's type 22 if I'm not mistaken, and it's a beer and wine license. So we have the opportunity to make alcohol or make beer, and then also we sell wine, so on and so forth. That is nothing. The price on that is nothing compared to like an actual liquor license. I've seen it vary from anywhere between like $88,000 to like $125,000,
which is different than when you open up a brewery.
Yeah, like a beer license, for instance, to make it and to sell it, if I remember correctly, it's like $500.
Okay.
But to make alcohol obviously becomes a lot more complicated because, yes, it maybe only costs $500, but you're end up falling with like LA County law. It's like sewer systems. It's the layout of the place. And then you have things that people don't even know about depending on what county you're working in. San Bernardino County, you're working with fire and so on. You have to obviously work with whatever city you at the same time. So you're dealing with the federal government, the state government, and the city government to do all of it. And then it depends if your city is even interested in having you.
Oh,
that's part of it too. The city, San Dimas, initially had no interest in. That's why there was no brewery here. Is they had no interest. And then my partner and I spoke with the city council one evening at a council meeting, obviously, and folks like John Ebner and our mayor, or now mayor Emmett Bader. He and Ryan Vienna actually also too. He was a council member and he still is. Those folks were pro us like moving forward, getting like more of a nightlife. Hence earlier our conversation about the city of San Dimas' local government doing like a fantastic job. Like people don't see it behind the scenes of they're trying to get the commerce coming in. And when we spoke with them, they were very much like, yeah, let's start figuring out, let's start actually getting this going. And it was a unanimous vote to change. So this whole area ended up being changed into an experimental area because of the city council, because what we were negotiating with them. And, but like, that's the kind of red tape you deal with.
And that's a lot. That is a lot.
Yeah. So like that city ended up saying that's great. But that was just the city. Then, like I said, the state government, the federal government, you're like, okay, it's just, you don't have a choice. You have to do it if you want to obviously be legitimate, and then otherwise I think you become a bootlegger or something. Something like that.
That's different.
A fast car or something. I don't know. Point as a whole is that there's a lot of red tape, but anyone that's truly wants it, they can accomplish it. A friend of mine owns Pro5 Brewing in Upland, Nick Fuentes, and Nick, he was like, I'm going to do it. And he just kept getting after it. He kept trying to get after it, and then finally he was getting kind of like a little turnaround constantly from the city and everything. But as I said earlier, lean on the other guys that have breweries, and to your point earlier, hey, don't be an idiot, don't be a jerk to people, and we help Nick a lot of ways. Like, hey man, there's something like, here's some tax credits you probably don't know of when you're opening, so you're gonna want to use those for later. Or hey, you know what, your equipment's here, you probably should move it over there because really this. And by doing those kinds of things, it allowed for him to open. Now, my understanding is that Pro5 is, booming which is wonderful. And Nick's a great guy, so I'm happy to hear that. But it stems from like leaning on other people because you're trying to deal with whatever government entity it is, and be the good person, and people are more than happy to help you. But I think he really got to see, because he went to the other side of it. Hey, this is why there's a lot that goes into opening a brewery.
Yeah.
Hence why, like at our house over here at Highpoint, like if you're an owner or a head brewer of any brewery and you come in, you drink for free. Because we all know that pain of trying to get in there, trying to open a brewery, doing all that work.
Wow.
And it's like out of a respect thing, like, and I don't, by the way, I don't expect that if I go to their house.
Yeah.
And that's how it works. Like they don't do it that way. That's fine. I have no problem paying my way. But like that's how it is in our house, because it's just like we really understand, and we can we can be sympathetic to what you've gone through to get where you are. So yes, is there some red tape? There's a lot of red tape.
That's awesome that you guys support each other that way, though. Like you said, it doesn't mean it's at everybody's house, but that you guys reckon that there's at least you and a few others that recognize that within each other, and kind of do give that like token of acknowledgement,
right?
Of like, dude, the beer's on us, like you know what I mean? Like you deserve it after that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, hey, Dominic, thank you for having this conversation with me. Thank you for accepting my invitation to be on here. Even through our technical difficulties, I was able to get so much value out of this. And I know that there will be people that are going to listen to this and get value out of it themselves. I'll make sure to let them know from the beginning what they're going to get with the sound. But I really don't think that matters.
Okay.
I really don't. I really see so much gold in the conversation that we had. And dude, I'm so grateful that I was able to have that conversation with you. So I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me out. I appreciate
yeah, man, of course. And so for anybody that is viewing this at Highpoint Brewing Co.
Highpoint Brew Co. Yeah.
At Highpoint Brew Co. Do you guys have a website?
Yep, same thing, same website, same everything. Yeah,
same website, Highpoint Brewing Company.
Best way to get a hold of is always going to be Instagram, social media.
Instagram,
yeah, but Instagram will always be the best one. So
perfect.
Reach out that way.
So, guys, make sure you guys follow Highpoint on Instagram. Any questions you guys have about this podcast or anything or any information you might need, just go ahead and shoot them a direct message. Some great beer. First brewery in the city of San Dimas. Anything else that you'd like to say about you, your business, or anything before we get off air?
I think, like I said, you check it all out on social media. Follow us. You'll see something new every day. We always have some new food person, some band, comedy. Something's always happening at our place.
Yeah, I do see that. Yeah. You guys have a lot of activity going on over there.
So come on out, have some fun.
Got it, guys. Well, come have some fun. Highpoint Brewing Company. And as always, like in every episode, at least for a lot of episodes, if not every episode, I want to thank the one and only sponsor that we have for this podcast, which is the original Clip Joint Barbershop. We have a location in Covina and another one in the city of San Dimas. And I say they are the official sponsor because literally none of this would happen if it wasn't for the original Clip Joint Barbershop. So if you guys do need a haircut, ogclipjoint.com, servicing you in San Gabriel Valley, in Covina, and San Dimas. Check us out. All right? Have a good one, guys. Thank you so much. Love y'all. Stay blessed. Keep smiling every chance you get. And we'll see you next time.
Awesome.
I'm going to mute my mic.